Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Horseman, Data Evangelist with DATAVERSITY. We would like to thank you for joining the latest installment of the monthly DATAVERSITY webinar series, Analytics Architecture with William McKnight. Today, William will be discussing 2025 trends in analytics architecture. Just a couple of points to get us started. Due to the large number of people that attend these sessions, you will be muted during the webinar. For questions, we'll be collecting them by the Q&A section. If you would like to chat with us or chat with each other, we certainly encourage you to do so. And just to note, the Zoom chat defaults to send to just the panelists, but you may absolutely switch that to network with everyone. To find and open both the Q&A and the chat sections, you'll see the icons for those features in the bottom middle of your screen. As always, we will send a follow-up email within a couple of business days containing links to the slides, a recording of the session, and any additional information requested throughout the webinar. Now, let me introduce to you our speaker for this series, William McKnight. William has advised many of the world's best-known organizations. His strategies form the information management plan for leading companies in numerous industries. He is a prolific author and popular keynote speaker and trainer. He has performed dozens of benchmarks on leading database, data lake, streaming, and data integration products. William is the #1 global influencer in data warehousing and master data management. He leads McKnight Consulting Group, which has twice placed on the Incorporated 5,000 list. And with that, I will hand the floor over to William to get today's webinar started. Hello and welcome, my friend.
Hello, Mark and everybody. It's great to be with you today. I hope everybody's staying safe and warm out there. Very challenging day on the roads. I find myself in Austin, Texas today. And again, great to be coming to you at this exciting time in analytics architecture. We're at the beginning of a new year that is going to be a year of challenge, a year of change, a year of a lot of new trends. Some of them picked up on of course, right now and continuing, and some new things. As a matter of fact, there's so many trends, I practically have 2025 trends to share with you today. Just kidding. I probably do have 25 though. So let's get into it here. Okay, we're not advancing. It's going.
We're on my screen still. We just need to switch to your slides.
Okay.
Steal the deck away.
I'm sorry about that. I should have noted that. Here we go. Okay, now they should advance. All right. So these are some of our clients over the years. And this is where I learned. I learned from our clients, and I see good things and bad things, and I try to bring the best good things forward to you. And also I might note some of the things to avoid, but I've been involved in a lot of the budgets that are being developed, and of course the projects and the architectures being developed for 2025. And so what I'm bringing you today is the best of. What I'm bringing to you is the top of the mountain kind of trends that I think that you will start to see around you. If you're an information professional, you'll start to see them happening around you, and hopefully you are also going to be part of that change effort, part of those trends. And these are trends that I'm sharing with you. I'm not sharing with you trends that I don't think you should follow. I think I'm bringing you trends that you should follow for good reason, because they do drive home efficiencies and economies and new possibilities. And so this is that upper quadrant, if you will, of trends that I'm sharing with you today. This is our brand new technology logo set. Quite a few on here, as you can see, build up over the years as things change and new entrants come into the marketplace. We try to be on top of that. And so if you have any questions about any of these technologies or where the seams are between them, do let me know. Trends are important. Yes, they're important, not because we need to be following all trends. I don't look very trendy right now as that goes, but I think it is important in our space to follow or understand what the trends are and make them applicable to your situation, because the ones who get in on the beginning of a great trend are going to get the most value from that trend. And studies have shown this over time. So it's better to be at the beginning, or at least a fast follower of the trend, rather than being at the end. And furthermore, and perhaps more importantly, you're not the only one hearing about these trends. Your internal users are hearing about them, maybe in a different way. And your customers certainly are hearing about them as well. And they have expectations of you as a result. They want to see that you are following these trends, that you are doing AI and making it more efficient and better for them in their partnership with you. So I like to help create leaders. I think leadership is a void in our space, and a little bit goes a long way. And I think that we can definitely be doing more in this area for the good of information management. So a couple ways I define this. One is that information management leaders can advance maturity while also solving business issues. So they don't solve business issues by doing things the same old way, if that's not the best way. They avail themselves of the best way by understanding the trends and seeing the applicability and finding that good balance between what's worked in the past and what is here for the future. And there's a lot of things in 2025 that we need to be aware of and taking advantage of. Information management leaders must also pick their winning strategies and get on board. Yeah, this is kind of like what I was saying on the prior slide. Pick your winners. And I think that the ones I'm sharing with you today are winners. I know it's a lot. But I think you can do it. And get on board with these trends. Look for opportunities. Look at that. Now that you have your budget for 2025, and you're going to have all these projects to do, you're going to start architecting them. My clients are starting to really architect these projects now. And so there's opportunity right there to do some of these new things, maybe a data lake house for this one, maybe some machine learning for that one, and so on. So I thought it might be interesting to look back at last year's trends to see if we need to pay attention to this guy or not. These are the trends that I would say hit last year. This is a majority, to be sure, of the trends that I espoused then. This was 1 year ago. I'm going to have a few that didn't hit, and these are all subject to interpretation. So you might look at these and go, well, I didn't see a shift towards MLops. Well, I did. And I can call that one a trend. I'm not going to go through all of them. Some of them you're going to see again. And certainly things can be a trend for multiple years if that's what people are pursuing over the course of multiple years. So you'll see some of these again in 2025, to be sure. Now, there were some trends that didn't hit, so good batting average, but it's not 100%. Increased use of line chain, some might say, yeah, there was more, but not to the degree that I would say makes that one a winner. Rise of AI agents as personalized assistants, but hold the phone on that. Hold the phone on that one. I might have just been a little bit ahead of myself with some of these. And then you see some others that you're going to see again because I was just early with them. I don't think any of these are total zeros. So let's get into it. I'm going to start in the area of information management. So I have 3 areas for you today, just to categorize them. So the first one's going to be the area of information management. Okay, companies are seeking a simplified data architecture. Well, William, I thought you just said it's getting more complicated and that there's just so much more to do. Yes, at the same time, we are looking at the kind of the back end of our data architectures and seeing where can we consolidate, where can we rationalize, where can we do things with more efficiency so that we can move forward, so that we're not creating a complete mess here. And it's just essential that you rationalize and architect, make sure you have the back end of your data architecture actually architected and not just sitting there as something that got thrown together because you're just going to hit the wall at some point with an unarchitected environment and not be able to move forward. And that's going to be pretty much peril for you, not only as a individual, but as a department and as an entire company, really. We sit on this very important asset for the business, and we have to take care of it. And sometimes that means maintenance, right? So how have we simplified our data architectures? Well, while we're making them more complicated? Well, we have done a lot of what I will call, and what the industry has called, what's the big word for it? Optimization. Yeah, there was a lot of optimization in 2024 where we looked at all this redundant data that we were storing. We looked at how much history we were storing. We looked at just some data that we weren't making use of. And we looked at our costs, particularly around some of the data platforms, and said, whoa, let's streamline this. Let's not store that data. And a lot of that happened, or let's store that data differently and cheaper. We learned that you can store data in some places a lot cheaper than other places. And so that is one way that we are simplifying our data architectures and at the same time lowering the costs. I see the two as going hand in hand. Other things that I'm going to be bringing up today are data products. And data products are a way to streamline data sharing. So we're not building a bunch of one-off data integrations around our organization, but we're building something that has legs, that can scale, that we can reuse. And so that is a way of simplifying the architecture. So we're not creating hundreds of integration points that are just sitting there. And AI agents are a package that we can buy potentially off the marketplace, plug into our environments. I shouldn't say plug in like, oh, it's so easy, but you know what I mean. The point is that they can be added to our environment and that they encapsulate data models and software that enable them to perform specific tasks. And I'll bring this up as a particular trend for 2025. As a matter of fact, I think it's a huge trend. And by the end of the year, we are going to be just jumping up and down about AI agents. Another one, another way we could simplify the data architecture is through AI-powered data analysis. So with AI doing more curation of the data that it is seeing, it's bringing a more curated, a more mature data to bear to the user and the application for the last mile, if you will, of the analysis. Simplification of data governance and security. So I wanted to continue on the simplification theme as I talked about the data mesh, because the data mesh is the architecture for simplifying data governance and security around the enterprise. If you have a fully architected environment around your enterprise, you can actually have common data governance and security. You can leverage your data governance and security and privacy and so on. But if you have an unarchitected environment, you've got to do that throughout the pockets of the environment, throughout your organization. Very inefficient, very non-simplified. And so what a data mesh is it's multiple data warehouses, multiple data lakes, multiple lake houses, potentially, multiple data integrations, and so on. And so we are placing these structures in the hands of the departments or the organizations that it makes sense to own. But yet, they just can't go off on their own completely, 100%. There are touch points back to the rest of the architecture in a data mesh, and therefore it's architected. We've already given up on this whole notion of everything has to be centralized. Everything is not going to be centralized. And once you acknowledge that, you want a decentralized and architected environment. And that's what a data mesh is, with principles of domain ownership and a huge amount of self-service. It needs a lot of governance, and it can be simplified if you actually have an architected environment. And by the way, just documenting your data architecture mess with a data catalog, okay, that's a little bit helpful, but you actually want to architect it, okay? So the physicalness, if you will, of the architecture is very important here. And the data mesh is what we'll all be clamoring for by the end of the year, probably in the same way that's 15 years ago, we all wanted that data warehouse. Remember that? Some of you remember that. It's going to be at that level. And we're going to be talking about data mesh in the same way by the end of the year. Now, unstructured data. Unstructured data is so important these days. It's really the area, I say, of competitive advantage, because there's a lot of applications now that I see that are in the plans that comprise not only structured data, but also unstructured data. Now, the structured data, we're almost expected today to have that under control. We don't. And we still need to put resources on it for sure. But that being said, we are forging ahead with data lakes and lake houses, and these are structures where unstructured data can be at parity with structured data, especially if you put that data in an open data format. like Apache Iceberg, Delta, or Apache Hudi, particularly Iceberg. But anyway, you put the data in that format, you almost have full SQL-like capabilities. And so this helps to bring unstructured data up to parity with structured data, and that will be the expectation in 2025. So can't just let it go anymore. And speaking of the open table formats, that's another trend that I have for you here. They offer freedom. A lot of my customers have told me, we want that freedom. We want to be able to move around. I'm not sure that they actually do, but they like knowing that they can if they want to. And that's not a full seamless transition, by the way, if you move your data platforms, but it is a lot more seamless if you have an open table format that both support. So Apache Iceberg seems to be the one that's gaining the most popularity due to its performance, interoperability, and broad open source and commercial support. And that comprises data files in column storage like Parquet, as well as metadata in hierarchical directories. And there's a lot more detail there. I'm actually a data format kind of person. I really like to get into the format. I started my career in databases by working on the format of the relational data page. So I'm very interested in that sort of thing. I've looked at it. It's very compelling, very modern, and something that is going to be the basis of our lake houses going forward. Data FinOps. I mentioned before the need for simplicity. We need to understand our costs better. That message is coming through loud and clear here at the end of 2024 and coming into 2025, especially as many of you went through budget season, and there were a lot of, shall I say, revelations in that process as you look back on your costs for 2024, and you want to move forward in a better, cheaper way, if you will, while at the same time adhering to the needs of the business and the driver for more AI, which means more data and more complexity and so on. So it's a delicate balance. We need those leaders that can handle the mixed messages that I'm sending out today and the delicate balance that there is there. But when you do data FinOps, you look at things like we're architecting something right now where we've learned or we figured out that Salesforce Datacom, did I say? Yeah, Salesforce.com. I said data. Salesforce.com compute is cheap and Snowflake storage is cheap. So let's take advantage of both of those so we can have a reasonably costed project here, and it can actually do it. So the pressure on budgets is high, even though we know data is very important. The pressure on budgets is probably as high as I've seen in quite a while right now. So if that's you, you're not alone. You're not alone. But the answer is in here. The answer is in this presentation in terms of what to do to bring that cost down and continue to deliver. Speaking of which, data products. Data products. Now, I first heard about data products a couple years ago. I think they were kind of emerging then as a consultant-led kind of thing. And I thought, well, we're already moving data all around the organization. But the big idea in data products was an API. And that's something that is new for many organizations, to build APIs for internal data exchange and to consider that anything outside of a direct hit on a data lake or a data warehouse or a lake house was something that's not just a one-off, but it's going to be repeated. And let's face it, there's all sorts of one-off data exchanges that happen in an enterprise. And for the most part, they're not one-off. They actually continue. What I mean is that there's all sorts of point-to-point, I should have said point-to-point interfaces that happen outside of what would be considered the normal zone of, okay, go to the lakehouse, get your data, thank you very much. That's one way. That's a great way. That's a way I push things towards, but I don't always get my way in terms of that. And let's face it, there's so many seams in our architecture. That's just not going to happen 100% of the time at all, not even close. And so data products have emerged. I actually just finished building a course on data products. Yes, there's that much to say about this data interchange. Now, some of it's good old data integration best practices, which we're still not doing 100% of. We still need to do, especially as we step up to scalable data interchange with data products. But anyway, It's upon us, and I think it's going to become the standard for data exchange within companies. There you go. So think about data products when you think about your data integration. Data privacy. Data privacy will affect business operations in a big way in 2024. It's going to overhang everything. The stakes are very high when it comes to data. Regulatory compliance costs will go up. Reputation and brand damage will go down. You will have operational inefficiencies and business disruptions, and so on. You'll have challenges getting talent if you're loose with data privacy. And so it really just behooves us to pay attention to it. And by the way, I don't believe that most developers can actually manage this on their own. So this is why I like to say it takes a village. It takes a village to get one of these projects to production. And it takes specialists in different areas. And one of those areas, one of those big areas, is data privacy. And so if you've done the happy path of your development, but you haven't attended to data privacy or any of the other things I'm going to be talking about, you're only 50% of the way there. There's still a lot of work to do when it comes to data privacy. Yeah, probably enough said about that. Be sure you pay attention to it in a big way in 2025. Now, data governance and regulation, that's also going to be huge. That's also something that each project needs to touch base with before it gets too far along. The big thing is the European AI Act. Big thing for me anyway, my projects right now. This requires an AI system providers to clearly label AI-generated content and ensure human oversight. And this, of course, you're doing this for your European data, but I suggest that you also start thinking about and actually doing it for your US-based and other-based data, because something like this is going to spread worldwide. And so it's going to be necessary for you to adhere to requirements like this. Digital resilience is also becoming a critical aspect of economic output, with regulators enacting strict government and compliance frameworks. So this is a guardrail around our AI development, but a necessary one, a good one, and it needs to be applied across model training and model usage and inference. And there are minimum standards for incident response, data security, supply chain, diversification, risk, and so on, okay? It takes a village, and it takes focus on this. So data governance is not going away in 2025. Data governance is going to be more important. We still realize that there are data quality standards for this data that we're training AI on. Maybe it's not the same data standard as we do our alphanumeric financial reporting data that's in our data warehouse. It's different, but it's so voluminous that the work effort to get it there is the same. It's the same, it's just different. And so we need data quality rules for that data as well. We need data governance over that data. And like it or not, we're going to have regulation over this thing that we do with data. So there are already products out there like Databricks Unity Catalog, which converges the data catalog with AI models, metadata, to provide a unified platform for managing and discovering data assets. So there are things you can avail yourself of. These capabilities enable automated data profiling, quality assessment, and recommendations for optimizing data pipelines and workflows as well. Data privacy and ethical consideration. So hand in hand with data security, data privacy has growing importance. There are some stringent regulations around it. So just to follow on to that regulation theme. And we must maintain user trust in what we do. Our users and our application teams that use our data, they care about this. They don't want to get in trouble either. They don't want a breach that they have any kind of fingerprint on, and we don't either. And furthermore, it's just the right thing to do. So ethical considerations are going to come back in a big way in 2025, to the point where we might actually be hiring specialists in this area, AI ethics officers. How about that? I see this responsibility already being hung on many C-level folks in organizations. And so it's a matter of time until this becomes a domain in and of itself inside of organizations. We'll come back on that a little bit as well. Let's talk about some trends in AI. 2025, I'm declaring it the year of AI agents. Now, the projects that I see, a good amount of them actually could be solved with AI agents. I shouldn't say solved like it's easy, but you know what I mean. It could be definitely the foundation could be laid with a commercial AI agents, of which there are thousands available today, in which this market is only going to grow. There's probably 100 or so different business processes in your organization today where AI agents could be useful. And so I've often wondered, okay, how is AI going to make its way into organizations? How is all this great possibilities going to be encapsulated in an application, which is how enterprises ultimately like to consume their applications. So the answer is AI agents. And in 2025, we're going to see pervasive adoption. It has conversational interfaces. And one of the big things with AI agents is it's true AI. It's true AI. They are true AI. They're not analytics. They are AI. They take into account many, many different factors. Like, for example, there are agents that can refill your supply chain with procurement. Well, that's actually a pretty complicated process to do perfectly, if you think about it. You've got all these vendors with all these different promotions and prices, and you have supply and demand, and you have, well, where are you going to warehouse this? You have choices there. You have temperature choices there. You have transportation choices. You have all kinds of things that humans certainly can't do, and we've been kind of doing a half job with our straight up analytics. It takes AI to take that to another level and actually save money. These are straightforward, sometimes straightforward ROI possibilities here with AI agents. So I'm excited about AI agents. I think it's going to be bigger than Gen AI, which is all the rage now. So I think by the end of the year, AI agents are going to be first and foremost what we are talking about in data. How about that? Okay. Gen AI and LLM success. I say we've had a lot of Gen AI and LLM success so far, and I gave a whole presentation on this probably 2-3 months ago. Right here, you can find that on YouTube. But there's going to be more in 2025. And what I see in projects that I've been speccing is 25 to 30% of the total projects have a meaningful Gen AI component. 25 to 30% today have a meaningful Gen AI component that helps drive whatever the project's doing. Let's say it's some revenue, helps drive revenue to the company. So a lot of them are small pilots, but they'll move on. Anything that has to do with audio, video, picture, text, it's all Gen AI. Gen AI is really the answer to a lot of that. So consider it when you are considering working with any of those modes. And furthermore, another consideration for you is that the vendors are very motivated to have Gen AI and LLM success, as well as AI agent success, by the way. And so when I say motivated, I mean financially motivated, and they may be able to help you out if you're going to help drive some success with their technology in these very important areas. Okay, AI hardware advancements. Yeah, a lot of that too. Not everything is going to the cloud. There was actually quite a bit of repatriation in 2024, and some of that will continue in 2025. Although I expect that the cloud will strike back and maybe lower prices to make that a more compelling option for us. But anyway, I think this is an aside, not on the slide, but I think hybrid will probably be what we settle on. But we're not going to settle on it very well in terms of having standards around what's online and what's not, or what's on-prem, I should say, and what's not. And that'll be something that we'll grapple with all year. And so when you're on-prem, the AI hardware advancements are all the more important, bringing it back to the slide finally. This is hardware that fine-tunes itself over time. Neuromorphic chips mimicking the human brain's architecture, optical computing. There's increased investment in AI hardware startups and different government initiatives, all happening around this. Some of you, I'm sure, caught the NVIDIA, at least the keynote or that conference, the CES conference. I think it was last week. Very interesting things going on there. I won't try to recap it here, but very interesting things that are going to make their way into the enterprises and, of course, the projects that we do. I'll also mention here, because I don't think I have a chance otherwise, is that edge computing. Edge computing is going to have a lot of advancements as well. So we're not just storing flat data, we're storing real databases at the edge, and we're also not just storing straight processing, but really AI processing is going to be happening at the edge. So the possibilities for architectures is just going way up exponentially. Focus on efficiency in machine learning modeling. Traditional AI approaches often fall short in having high costs and subpar accuracy. So to address this, we're seeing advancements in efficient model development, workload optimization, novel neural network architectures, and automated hyperparameter optimization. These innovations help reduce training time, improving accuracy, enhancing scalability, and lowering costs. By leveraging these advancements, organizations can unlock AI's full potential and drive meaningful business outcomes. So we're realizing that we're not doing ML one-off. We are doing it as a business directive around everything that we do practically going forward. And in so doing, we adopt MLops. Where many of customers and enterprises are that I see are, they are at the point where they've done ML, they see the value, or at least some people in the organization see the value, they want to repeat it, but they didn't really build their ML to scale or with any concept of a program in place, just a project, just a one-off project. Well, when you commit with MLOps. Every enterprise serious about embracing machine learning must turn to MLOps. And I think that should be a lot of enterprises. So this helps to overcome inefficient processes, complexity overload that results in untapped value. And few businesses have been successful at putting the majority of their ML models in production. How about that? Because we don't have a clear path to production. That's what MLOps really gives us, that clear path to production. It helps us shield data scientists and analysts from the complexity of infrastructure so they can focus on their models. It is true that a data scientist really spends most of his or her time today still on data integration and trying to get what they've delivered into production. And we need to streamline that. And MLOps is a big part of that. Now, this is something I think will come about more in the second half of 2025. And this is more of a, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a moonshot here. You may not see this as totally relevant to data engineering and architecture, but I do. I see all AI as part of what we do in data. So AI companions, how about that? AI applications today remind seniors when to take medication, remind about doctor's appointments and when to eat, can help in removing the anxiety and confusion that many of them face. So replicas will be kind of a form factor of delivering AI in many different ways, perhaps internally, definitely externally. And I think it's kind of building up to a future where they'll be among us, if you will. Okay, I don't want to get too crazy here, but I think there'll be there'll be more Sophias, if you know Sophia. There'll be more Sophias, and they'll just be kind of among us. And there are tech giants today and startups that are pouring resources into creating engaging and functional AI companions. So toward the end of the year, we're going to see this as being that form factor that's very important. Now, there's a couple industries I'll call out that I think are going to be leading the way in AI. Healthcare is one, and I call it out not only because many of you are in healthcare, but we all utilize the healthcare system, so we care about this. And so there's all sorts of areas of healthcare that are being driven by AI. The gap is huge in terms of the possibilities. It kind of always has been in healthcare because it's so complex. But we'll start to close that gap with AI, with AI's help, and do things like genomic medicine, where the sequence genome will be mastered, and then humans will become a big data set, which is what we are. I don't want to become philosophical here, but anyway. And a lot of this is moving us to more predictive healthcare, where you're going to be just born and you'll have all this information for your parents, like you have a better than average chance to be really great at math or having a high IQ or being a great sprinter, basketball player, what have you. 2025 is going to advance the revolution in precision diagnostics, treatment personalization, predictive analytics for diseases, and tailored treatments. And we're going to see in 2025 steps in regulatory approvals, which has been a holdback on a lot of the advancements in healthcare. The other industry that I'll call out, because not only it's going to happen there a lot, but also because we all get education, right? You're here today, hopefully getting some education. And then we have our kids that go through education, right? So a lot of this is going to be driven by AI. It's going to become very personalized, going to have more stimulating learning environments, and there'll be a global lens on that learning, highly personalized applications, learning languages to the degree necessary, to the degree that that is still necessary, will be done by AI in a much more efficient way, tutoring, adaptive assessments, virtual reality field trips. I look forward to taking some virtual reality field trips to places that I'll probably never get. So, and a lot in special education as well. So all good news there, I think. AI challenges will remain. So we'll be grappling with these challenges for the rest of the year. And we will make some headway, but we won't fully overcome them at all. So by the end of the year, we'll still have these as challenges. And that's the point in terms of a trend. Data quality and availability. There's still a standard of data quality for data that's used in AI. You might say, well, it's not the same. It's not the same as our financial reporting data. Yeah, of course not. It's not. But it's different. It's so voluminous. There's so much varied data types that are in there. And we just really need something for data quality. I think I have something on the next slide or two for that. So I'll kind of leave it for that. Explainability. We need to be able to explain our models better than saying the AI did it. And a lot of AI is cooperating with this need that's starting to become regulatory. Again, I think this is an area that you could see somebody fully immersed in for a career, and that's going to be a good career, being able to explain AI to your user base and your customer base and just externally, how you're using it. I think it's even possible to explain how the algorithms work sometimes, but at a high level, that must be done. And so we are going to be starting to do that more in 2025. We're looking for scalability and performance out of our AI. We still have bias and fairness. Fairness issues, I should say. We will have that throughout the year. These are ethical challenges that we have in our data sets where we don't have enough data. It's in certain sectors of our data in order to do a full enough job at that. So different things that we have to watch in our data. We're kind of familiar with this, but we haven't done anything about it, right? So we're going to start having to do more and better about this in order for AI to actually work. So bias and fairness, transparency gets back to largely explainability, security, accountability, having that human in the loop, establishing the human oversight, a requirement of the EU AI Act, I might add, but probably a good practice not to let the AI do everything. Where does the human stop and AI begins? Or I should say, where does AI stop and the human begins? And how's that all going to work together? We're still going to be dealing with this challenge for years to come. But definitely it's going to make its way into your enterprise in 2025. So be ready for that. Clear responsibilities and get accountability for Gen AI-driven decisions and model development, making sure you are appropriately prompting your LLMs for the purpose that you are prompting for, and you're doing that in a consistent manner, and you can trust the results at least to the degree necessary for whatever it is. If you're doing a product catalog, you're putting your product catalog online, okay. So you ask LLM to look up a, I don't know, 20-word product description for this golf driver or something, right? Well, you're going to be doing that for 100 or 200 or 1,000 or more of your products. And you'll want it somewhat consistent. You won't be able to believe it. So you might actually want to go look at that golf driver and see if the description matches. Things like this, having accountability around your AI. The challenges may even be greater in the organizational area. A lot of process challenges. I talked about that when I talked about MLOps. And organizational challenges in terms of a lot of internal resistance. I've given a whole presentation on organizational change management here. I think it was maybe 2 months ago. You can look that up on YouTube. But this is the program that I think we need to institute to deal with the internal resistance that's already happening and will just exacerbate in 2025. A lot of you are just going to be exhausted at the end of 2025 because you will have dealt with internal resistance to AI all year long. Well, I feel for you, but this is true. This is what somebody is going to do. Perhaps all of us to some degree will have to be dealing with that if we're in AI. And there's going to be a lot of emerging roles in the enterprise. Prompt engineer, I mentioned that. AI trainer, AI auditor, AI ethicist. How about that? An AI ethicist, yes. Again, it's a role that I see being hung on to C-level people today. And I think it's just going to spawn off and be needed on its own as a specialty. And I see people specializing in this already. So if you want to find your way in the new world and you're not completely married to whatever you're doing now, and it's not one of these things, maybe your way will be in one of these things as we go forward, because these are going to be hot jobs. These are going to be hot roles that there's a skills gap for. There's a skills gap in general in all of data, but especially in these emerging areas. So your company is going to need all of these if they're committed to AI in a big way. And many of you are going to be in 2025. So let's start filling these emerging roles and moving forward. The greater population is going to underestimate the transformative impact of AI. Yeah. And so as we foist AI upon them, they're not going to know what is hitting them. And it's going to be a challenge to humanity. So it's not just us in data. It's a big challenge. And I don't want to belittle it by kind of throwing it in with, oh, do a data mesh. It's a big challenge. But we're a part of that challenge. We're data experts, and this is all about data. So I'm just warning you that this year, not only internally is there going to be 100 thoughts about what AI is, externally you get into thousands of different perspectives of AI, most of them wrong. Most of humanity is going to be a good 10 years behind the possibilities. This has always been true. They're starting to believe that cars can drive themselves, which has been true for years. They're starting to understand their personal vulnerabilities as a human being, although largely we don't. And how, I want to say manipulated we can be with AI. And so the depth of manipulation science, the fakeness of it all, it's going to be a big challenge. And It'll be the next generation will understand the issues and potential risks, but the current generations out there largely do not. And this is going to impact what we do. Okay. The broader environment, maybe that one was a broader environment one, I don't know. But in the broader environment that we work in as data engineers and analytics architects, it's going to be cloud native, number one. So this was a trend in 2024, I do believe, from me, and it's going to continue in 2025. We still got a long way to go, but it's still a trend, and it was a hot trend in 2024. This means a microservices architecture using containers with elasticity, with continuous delivery, with DevOps and CI/CD, infrastructure as code with observability added. And I'm going to get to observability on the next slide. So hang on that. Let me think, is there anything else I want to add to this? I think this is true for, going to be true for most projects, and most projects are data-related projects that we work on, right? So be prepared for cloud-native approaches, which, by the way, I believe is a way that truly gets you the full benefit of the cloud. Okay, now I'm declaring 2025 the year of data observability. That's right, the year of data observability. There's still a standard of quality for data that's big. Okay, big data has data quality standards, and we largely have done a poor job with that. Frankly, we've largely done a poor job with other data quality as well, but at least we have a way forward on that. We're just not doing it as well as we could be doing. But in the big data world, we don't, or we didn't until data observability emerged on the scene. So I see a shift from mean time to recover, MTTR, to proactive prevention. This is what data observability does for us. It gets into the data. It does many proactive things with the data. It gives us warnings about what is to come, not only in the data, but in the business. And it brings data up to a level of quality that we just could not do. We don't have the manpower for in any other way, not with traditional data quality approaches, that's for sure. And so it can get into the volume of big data and clean up data quality and prevent problems and alert us to trends in data and so on. And this is becoming very democratized, as is a lot of the things that I'm talking about today. When you think back to one of my top recommendations or predictions is the data mesh architecture, and that's a very decentralized architecture, very democratized, if you will. So, yeah, and there's different levels of observability, by the way. There's infrastructure observability, stuff like Datadog, which is different from things like Big Eye and Telmi and Calibra and the ones that do more of the data observability. I, of course, am focused more on the latter types of tools that do that data quality, data observability. And I can say that roughly between the two types of observability, they roughly add up to about 20% of cloud costs for budgets going into 2025. So this is no small thing. This is no small thing at all. And by the way, I've just finished and published a enterprise contribution report on data observability, where we looked at the top, I think it was 10 tools out there and compared them. Hybrid quantum computing. So much fun. So much fun here. So much change. This is going to be possible in 2025 for us. We're not going to largely avail ourselves of it. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that we're all going to be on quantum by the end of the year. Some of us will be selectively on quantum, but the possibilities are going to grow in this area. And there's going to be a lot of investment in this area that will eventually kind of take over the bits and the bytes of the foundation that we have today in data. And hope I'm around for it, right? It's going to be exciting. There's so many possibilities for it. What we've seen so far is just an exponential rise in performance of query on big data and things like this. There's so much promise now for the data that we're trying to manage. And so it's inevitable. It's inevitable that quantum computing will be there in our future. So I'm not saying rush out and do anything about it today. I'm saying that that's going to be happening in the background of our lives in 2025. What else will be happening? Well, this is on the good news front, I think, right? Data engineering will become the highest value profession. Yes, it's kind of there now in kind of what I see. But by the end of the year, it will be undoubtedly, in most enterprises, a very much more valued profession if you do it right. If you're stepping up to challenges and doing the trends that I'm sharing with you here that not only drive business results, which must be done, but also advance the maturity and the possibilities of your overall data environment. And that's what I'm most excited about. So be excited about that. Be excited about that. You're in the right place. I hope you feel like you've chosen your career well. You have to curate it. You have to take care of your career. You have to build your knowledge. You have to tap into things like what we have here at DATAVERSITY and so on a regular basis. You must do that, and you must be willing to evolve. Don't be one of those that say, oh, well, it's a nail, and I've got this hammer, and this is how we've been doing things. I've given a whole presentation on this, but you're expected to advance the maturity of your area when it comes to data technology. You're expected to meet customer demands, whatever they may be. You're also expected to grow the business today. You have this knowledge. Data engineers have the knowledge. They have the capabilities in the palm of their hand. And it's really important to bring that to the table and put that on the table there with the rest of the initiatives that the organization is thinking about. And only we can do that, because only we see to this level. I hope I'm not getting too philosophical on you here, but many of you have agreed with it when I say we sit on the gold of the organization. You agree with me, but you put that in action by coming up with initiatives that only you can, from your perspective as a data expert, knowing what the possibilities are with data today. And a lot of that has to do with AI, of course. Executives are going to expect this. They're going to expect things, and if they get it, it's going to be highly valued. Like, for example, executives and others are anticipating to engage in natural language interactions with the data. How about that? Yes. Natural language interactions with the data, not SQL, not let me ask somebody and let me get in a queue, but I want the answer right now. Are you delivering that? You must deliver that in order for this trend to be true for you, that data engineering becomes a highly valued profession. So the data scientists, yes, they may have the world's sexiest job. As of a few years ago, that was the declaration. But I say it's kind of data engineering now, with no shame on a data scientist who still is probably number 2, right? Next year, I think I'm going to be saying maybe it's the prompt engineer or one of those other roles, the AI ethicist, or maybe the data mesh architect. One of those might be a pretty highly valued profession if the year plays out the way that I see it and the way that I have just shared it with you. So what are the major takeaways here today? This is what not only you're going to see happening around you as a data professional, but you have the potential to bring these possibilities to bear on your company initiatives. Data lakehouses, de facto, like data warehouses were 15 years ago. Data lakehouses bring unstructured data to parity with structured data. That's becoming very important. Data mesh, decentralized architecture. So you got multiple lakehouses. Let's concede on that point. Multiple lakehouses throughout the organization. They need connected. They need to be architected. they need touch points across them. And that's the data mesh. That data mesh says that departments and specialists and owners can create a data environment, but there's still a component of centralization. So we're not letting complete go of that. Finding that right balance is tough. And it gets back to leadership. Data formatted in open data formats, like Iceberg, in our data lakehouses. And this gets us almost full SQL capabilities across structured and unstructured data. And of course, the flexibility. Data exchange, how? Through data products, built on data contracts that you're going to be building over the course of the year. So those one-off exchanges become repeatable, scalable, and good practice data integration products, data products we call them. Gen AI, more success around text, video, audio, language, anything to do with any of that. More success there. AI agents will emerge in 2025. Your organization will have them by the end of the year, most likely, and may have them in spades. And again, I'll say, I think this is one of my biggest trends for you, and something that we're going to be talking about in spades by the end of the year. Regulation around privacy and AI. There's the EU AI Act, but that's the first of many to come. So we're going to see more regulation that we're just going to have to deal with, which is why we want a good architecture that we understand, and we want good practices. And it's the year of data observability upon us for the data quality standard that AI data requires that we're not giving to it. And so that's a summary of the recommendations and the trends. And I'll turn it back to you, Mark, to see if we have any questions in our remaining minutes.
We've got a lot of great questions, and a couple of these are super fun for me, but I'll ask the most upvoted question first. What do you see as the level of adoption and usage of AI in financial services?
Financial services, I think there'll be kind of a middle of the road adopter. I called out a couple other industries that I think will take the ball and run with it in 2025, but there's a lot of possibilities in financial services. Not necessarily the same level of unstructured data that other companies have, so maybe the need isn't as great, and it's sort of an entrenched industry, so that always means a little bit of holdback on progress. But I think there'll be a lot there, and I think there'll be a lot, for example, around financial analysis and personal analysis of financial products, and the smart, I'll say smart marketing of financial products to the right customer base. A lot of that's going to be handled by AI.
Cool. We got questions are coming in quick and furious, but we've only got a couple minutes left here. And I think this is an important one to kind of touch on. What is the difference between robotic process automation and agentic AI? Is it just the incorporation or use of an LLM?
You know, I'm not really that familiar with the first term you mentioned, robotic process automation. I vaguely know what it is, but it's not something that I really deal with. So I don't feel like I can compare and contrast that to AI agents. Sorry.
Fair enough. No problem. And this could be our last one, and maybe we can get into some philosophical discussion on it. How many jobs do you think AI will eliminate in 2025?
Yeah, the big question, the one in the back of everybody's minds. This is why I kind of danced around it when I talked about organizational change management and I guess the nervousness, that people will have inside organizations when you mention AI. This is what they're thinking. And so what I suggested in the organizational change management presentation is to get in front of that, have a plan. What I also suggested there is, I don't know what it's going to bring. I don't think it's going to bring big job changes in 2025, but I certainly can't predict that for 2026 and beyond. So I'm sitting in a good space now. I will, what my passion is to prepare people for the future. I don't feel like, I or anybody individually impacts that future, but we do all we can. We do all we
Sure.
can to prepare for that future. So if you're working in one of, first of all, I did say data engineering was a highly valued job, didn't I? So I think
Hmm.
that that's untouchable. I'll use that word. And I think a lot of the AI jobs that I mentioned are untouchable and would be highly valued if you stepped into
Yeah.
one of those roles in an organization, because those are roles of the future. So take care of yourself. And if you're doing things that you look around you, you maybe deal with Chat GPT and you can see that a lot of what you do, maybe you're an analyst, a lot of what you do can be replaced. Also, take care of that and move on. And data integration, if you do data integration or master data management, a lot of
Hmm.
that is getting automated. Maybe that was a trend that I could have mentioned as well. But I think a lot of cycles, personal cycles, that is, people cycles, are going to be taken out of those jobs. We see that already. And so, it doesn't result in necessarily a net negative job outlook, but it does result in a need to move on, a need to do different things. It's a funny job market out there right now. What I see is that people are staying put. Some of you are handcuffed, and I mean that in a good way. But getting into the entry, this is an important point. Getting into the entry level and an entry level job today is hard. It's really hard because the
Hmm.
expectations are shifting. And a lot of what we used to call entry level jobs are now just done by AI. AI has
Yeah.
just, it's penetrating our job base from the bottom up. And so a lot of those entry level jobs are gone. And I don't know what the answer is, but I know that to be true.
It's a great observation, William. And with that, that's all we have time for today. So thank you for the wonderful presentation. Thank you, chat, and everybody asking questions for being so active. Well, great time had by all, looks like. And we'll see you next time. Thanks again, everybody.